We are
Hey,
live.
sound check, sound check. I think I'm hearing things correctly. Are you hearing things correctly? We are here today with Ivan Lou, who is going to tell us a little bit about our voices. Check us out soon on Uplift.
Oh, oh.
Hi, and welcome to Uplift. My name's Sarah Wade. I'm coming to you live from Perth in West Australia. I'm an agent of change and I love having fun with my voice.
Woohoo!
Today, we've got my beautiful co-host, as per usual, best-selling author and life coach, Mr. Neil Thrussell, joining us from Canada. How are you?
I am incredible and awesome. I'm really excited to. I hope Ivan doesn't make us sing a cappella or anything, but what the hell? Let's just go for broke and play full on and have a good time. As Sarah said, I'm an international best-selling author and life coach, and it's currently fairly warm in Canada. It's only in my part of Canada, it's plus 10, but I'm told snow is on the way. Sarah.
Now, we have an international audience, just as we've had an international panel. So I'd like to say welcome to you. Thank you for joining us wherever you are around the world. Joining us right now, from another part of Australia, a few thousand kilometres from me, we've got Ivan Lou, who is a voice coach, who's here today to share some of his goods. How you going, Ivan?
I'm going fantastic. And thank you so much, Sarah and Neil, for having me. Can I say this? I've been on a few podcasts and a few kind of shows as a guest. The intro that you guys do with the video and all that, like that just blew my mind. I was like, what? I need something like that. That's some tech magic right here. So I appreciate Sarah and Neil for having me here. Going fantastic.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. You know what? I think, having that little bit of eye candy is pretty fantastic, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, that's what Ivan and I here are for.
Eye candy. I mean, thank you guys. We appreciate it. Yeah.
We are the eye candy.
Drop it in the chat box if you like the eye candy. Hashtag eye candy. Speaking of candy, does sweets actually hurt our voices either? Is like covering our throat in sugar. Is this a good idea before we go to talk or sing?
What a great question. To be honest, if I was to be frank, it might actually be the opposite. Because when we are getting sweets, actually the saliva gets, we start to create saliva, right? And that actually lubricates the throat. So maybe it's a sign to eat more candy all the way.
Excellent.
Okay, so we're on this. Then what's things that we shouldn't be taking?
Great question, Neil. What things should we not be taking? Anything really that dehydrates or dries you out. I think a big one for us as singers is what have you got there, Neil?
Having your coffee.
It's my coffee.
Absolutely. Coffee. I love coffee myself, and I think it's one of those things. Everything in moderation, right? As long as you're not drinking, 10, 15 cups a day, I think should be fine.
That's a starter question amount. So, Ivan, you have a degree. I think it was a business degree, correct?
Absolutely.
So how did you go from business to singing?
Great. How did I go from business to singing? Oh gosh, where should I start? Such a great question, Neil. And here's the thing. I might actually start here. If you go to Google Images and you search singing teacher, unfortunately, I do not fit the stereotype because usually you get someone who is a female. Usually you get someone who's of a slightly different skin color to mine. And usually you get someone who's on the piano. Now, I actually play the piano, so I do fit that stereotype. And so I really don't fit into the stereotype of being a singing teacher. And studying business is actually one of those as well. But what I think has been a big, big driver for me, and how come I've been able to make that transition, is I feel like with these labels, with these stereotypes, as much as they're a great way to describe you, they never really define you, right? They never define you. And like, I don't know, hands up in the room, right? Who here is doing something that they did is related to what they've done in college or university, as you might say it? It's
maybe not the early years.
Exactly. So I think education is a great way to get you started, but I'm all about possibilities here. Now, like exactly how it happened, more than happy to share that. Neil, do you want me to go into that, or do you want me to save it for another for a bit later in the show?
If it's not too drawn out, and if it's short, sweet, let's find out how you went from drunken, business guy to burnt out, and then decides singing on the street corner, and then they put $1 in your cup or something. No, whatever. How did you?
Thank you, Neil. You literally just said my life story.
That's right. Thanks for joining us on Uplift today.
Neil, so absolutely, and I probably I try to keep it as short as I can. But when you're talking about something you're super passionate about, you never know. So if I go overboard, just cut me off. So I started singing about 10 years ago, and you can't really call that singing at all because I was terrible. Terrible to the point where my first teacher told me to see a doctor. They call it an ENT, ear, nose, throat doctor. Got me to see that. My first performance, my friends laughed at me. And that just goes to show how bad I was at singing. Couldn't hold a tune, right? And whilst at the beginning, there's a lot of kind of like, gosh, this sucks. Like, this is really, really painful. I started working and surrounding myself with some amazing teachers. So I've been working with some amazing teachers in the past couple of years as well, right? My current teacher actually works with celebrities, and his coach works with celebrities as well. So I'm learning from the right thing, learning from the right people. I think that has been a big, big milestone for me. And I think as I started to surround myself with the right people, learning the right knowledge, absorbing things from the right resources, I started to realize that the voice is not a gift. As much as you got shows like America's Got Talent, right? Those kind of shows which make it feel like singing is a gift. I learned that it wasn't the case. There are things we can do to develop and grow the voice. And that really spurred this big passion of mine. Now that's the first part, right? Because clearly Neil was asking about the business side too. And I did drink quite a bit, but not to the point where I'd be on the streets. So this whole time, as I was pursuing this kind of singing thing on the side, I actually was working towards a corporate career. So I was doing the internships, studying hard, trying to get the grades, applying for internships. And I was actually doing quite well. Landed a few internships during my college years, landed an awesome graduate position. And back then I was working I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, as a management consultant. And so essentially they deploy you in different businesses to help fix and grow the business. And so very, very businessy, very, very businessy. But here's the thing, about 6 months in, I said, I can't do it. I just can't do this anymore. I can't imagine myself doing this for another 40 years of my life. And at this point in time, I thought to myself, well, what's something that I can? And for me, at this point, I've been doing singing for about 7-8 years. Right? It never left me. I was doing it, putting hours outside of work to get there. And so then it became a really, really natural transition. Took a bit of balls, right? Excuse my language. Took a bit of guts here. But sometimes when you feel that pull, that drive, you just have to do it. And so that brings me to this point, that transition.
I love that. So it was literally, I can't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. That thought, that was that turning point for you then.
That was a big part. Big part, Sarah.
I love that because I hear, and I'm sure Neil does too, there's a lot of people who don't enjoy their day-to-day work. And you're right, it does take balls to go, you know what? I'm done with this. I want to do something else. I want to do something that inspires me. And what a beautiful thing that you have to gift to other people, bringing up that gift that you mentioned before. So I'm curious, guys, who are watching this live or in replay, do you have the gift of a good voice? Or like Ivan said, have you trained over time?
Great question. Great question.
I loved singing when I was little. Wasn't necessarily great. My mother actually, she mimes Happy Birthday as the sort of stock that I've got. That said, I joined choirs and I really loved music. I was part of the music programs on all the schools that I was in. It's a beautiful, beautiful way that we connect with ourselves, whether it be the timbre, the resonance, the all aspects. I'm curious, what was the thing that really drew you in? You said, I can do this for the rest of my life. Is it the variety? What is it for you that you enjoy about music?
Yes, such a great question. What draws me in towards singing and even, I guess, coaching, right? Because I think that's a big passion of mine too. So singing has always been one of those things where it feels quite mystical, right? Like you see maybe your favorite singer, maybe your favorite band, they're performing live. And for me, it feels like it's one of those closest things to being a superpower, which is, for example, like Superman can fly, Spider-Man can shoot webs, that kind of thing. Singing feels like one of those superpowers. And when you are able to develop it and do it really well, it takes you and a lot of your audience on this out-of-world experience. And so that's always drawn me in, to be able to do that for yourself and for other people. I think part of that, though, is and any of you guys, are any of you guys familiar with the 6 core human needs that Tony Robbins talked about? Right. Yes.
Yep.
For me, growth has always been number one. It's always been number one. And I think the beautiful thing about singing is no matter how good you get or how much you spend time on it, and this is probably the thing for most everything else, right? You're just unlocking another chapter in the book. And frankly, this is a book that never ends. And so that growth is something that keeps pulling me in and in and in. And part of this is what I want to instill with my students. One of my biggest missions, one of my biggest things I'd love to leave on this earth is through the power of singing, music, show that when you have that growth mindset, when you have that ability to just grow out of your problems, right? That can be a really, really beautiful thing. And so that's what really draws me in.
So it's amazing that sound was one of the first modalities of healing that we would sing. People don't know any language. You can put a baby of another culture, another language, and give it to a mother, and she will sing, and it's the timbre and the tone that will ease that baby, from a crying fit to sleep, and not speaking any language. Most people, if they listen to a beautiful singer and a voice in the performance, you don't need to know the words. The words may help, but I personally can get taken away in their journey just by their passion and their performance.
It's reminding me of opera. I don't speak Italian very well, but when I listen to opera, I do get carried away with it. Not only whether I'm watching the performance, but if I'm just listening to it, the range is just so beautiful and it touches my soul. It's just a wonderful thing to listen to people who've got such power and such passion from within. And I'm curious, Ivan, to get that, do you need to breathe well? Is breathing a key component to singing? Sounds a bit sad, perhaps, but if you don't breathe well, I'm assuming you're not going to be able to be a good singer.
So such a great question, Sarah. And to maybe passion builds you. Wow, I love this. I love this chat function. It's really, really cool. Breathing is definitely important. I would say it's an absolute fundamental to singing. I think though, most people are breathing fine. Like if you've made it to this kind of point, you're breathing fine, right? Like you're not suffocating for air. There's always room for improvement. And maybe if like I don't want to get too technical, right? One of the very fundamental things we want to do is, can I just get a steady flow of air? That's probably like a big fundamental of singing. So if you can really be able to control and manage a steady flow of air, nothing's going to stop you with singing. Like that's going to be a big one.
Oh, so that steady flow of air. Yeah, and it makes sense if you're all over the place huffing and puffing. You know, if you, for example, if you're running and listening to your iPod, and guys, let us know if you've ever listened to music while you're running. Do you sing along or do you struggle because of the inability to breathe? I know that I sing really well in the shower. I sing really well in the car. I'm not a runner, as Neil knows, but I'm not going to be running when I'm singing. It doesn't work for my breath. What is something what is something that you would like to share with us, Ivan, about breath and how it affects our voice?
Yeah, and Sarah, Neil, and maybe everyone who's watching, would it be helpful if I showed a little exercise on how to start controlling and getting your breath better? Yeah,
Let's do it.
Awesome. So I literally posted this on the internet today. So I it's not an idea that's come to me. Fresh, exactly. Now this is actually an idea I borrowed from a coach called Filippo. He's a fantastic vocal coach as well. And
okay, so before you go, where did you post this so I can get the banner up?
Yes. So it's on Instagram at Sing with Ivan.
Thank you.
Okay. So as we go forward, to those that are watching it on live or replay, you can go to Sing with Ivan and find it, and he'll share the exercise now.
Awesome. So here is the idea, right? Now that we've talked about, okay, well, we've got to keep a steady breath because that's a fundamental of singing, right? How do we get there? Like, that's going to be a really, really important question, right? Yeah, Neil's just like, how do we get there, right? And I would say a big one is by making it super, super obvious for yourself, right? And this is an exercise that I've been playing around myself with a couple of my clients as well. And this is by using a sound like this. And let me know if it's coming across for you, Sarah and Neil. Is it coming across loud?
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, the interesting with the right is there's two components to the sound. I might get you guys to try it in a moment. Who knows? The beautiful thing about this sound is there's two components. You've got the sound making part, which is the there's an actual quality behind the sound, right? But there's also the air, right? If I go, when I make a, they are actually just combining those two elements, the vocal folds making the sound, and then also the lips creating that tactile feedback, right? And so even for, I don't know, is it all right if I pick on one of you? Yeah. Neil volunteers. So one thing you want to try is see if you can hold that, right? And all I'm doing.
And how long am I? Yeah. Okay. How long am I holding this for? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Gosh, years if you can. Now, the most important thing is like you can hold it on for like a long time. The most important thing is what's happening as you're making that sound. Because if we go and it kind of stops and starts.
Yep.
Neil, shall we swap spots? You're fantastic at this. I love it. So what did you notice as you're doing that, Neil, with your own air?
That I'm not breathing back in, because I know I can feel it exhaling, but I'm not recirculating. I'm not putting any in. I'm pushing it all out.
Cool. And I think as we're exhaling and making this sound, that's completely cool. We're definitely going to need to take a breath after that. But for now, getting that very steady exhale is going to be really important. And then obviously you can kind of go like play with all these different scales and all these things to jazz it up. But that's the fundamental here. So if there's one thing I could leave for the audience is play around with this first, right? As you're singing your favorite songs, as you're just making sounds, am I able to do this very mechanical thing, keeping the very consistent the whole time? Because if you can, then you've already got a lot of the habits needed for singing.
Cool.
Wonderful. I know when Maya was a baby, one of the things, she's now almost 5, one of the things that got her to sleep, there were 2 things. Firstly, her dad would play the didgeridoo to her, and that was the breathing in and breathing out, and it was this beautiful sound, and she would just go off into this lull, and it was amazing. The other thing that used to get her to sleep really well, and it was something that I picked up from other parents, was doing that om sound. And just doing that, it really helped me as a mum to calm down because I was breathing and concentrating, but it also helped her to calm and chill. And that om sound was just beautiful. And having that in a big public space where everybody's omming, or whether you're in a small room with your small child, and it's a chance for you both to connect and to, what a beautiful thing. So when we do that breathing out and the making that sound, that resonance, is there a optimal pitch that most people like to go to as a beginner, Ivan?
Yeah, really awesome question. I think especially when we're first starting off, right, you definitely want to choose a pitch that's comfortable for you, because if you're going and you're kind of straining to get there, right, as much as that might be cool to show off, it's actually training some habits that we don't want, right? Which is like a lot of tension kicking in. One thing I always teach a lot of my students is we want to be stacking habits, right? Because all that makes the difference between a great singer and someone who's a bit more amateur is the habits that they built with their voice, right? And especially if you feel like you can't sing, chances are you haven't built the right habits yet. And that's okay, right? We need to start stacking habits. And habit 1 at the moment could be, can I just get the air going? As you get better, then maybe we might talk about, okay, can we expand the range so you can do it on multiple notes and still have it feel quite easy and similar? That could be a next step. But when you're starting off, stick with something that's comfortable, because the habit we're trying to build is breath flow.
So is a comfortable range for most people then something like, I don't know, like the happy birthday song, that sort of range? A lot of people sing happy birthday multiple times a year. So is that like a comfortable range?
It could definitely be. One thing I would probably add is maybe somewhere around when you're speaking. Because if I'm going, hey, my name is Ivan, then I might go, there's a reason why my demonstrations are all kind of this pitch. It's where I roughly speak, right?
Yeah.
And if that feels comfortable for you, great. Sliding around from that baseline, and just test around. What are your upper limits? What are your lower limits? And that I would definitely start there versus trying to aim for the stars and then hurting yourself. You will get to the stars, right? But we have to stack it up.
Makes sense.
Excuse me. And what most people don't know, that a lot of professional speakers actually have vocal coaches to learn, so that they don't run raw. And when they're screaming on stage, there's techniques that they can do to protect your voice so that you can project, as opposed to just that raw guttural rip your vocal cords apart.
Very, very true.
So, as a different question, as a singer, what's your favorite genre? If you were to be like, a coach can teach in any genre, but if you're just singing for the day for you, what's the genre that you default to?
Oh, such a great question, Neil. And this is always the thing that challenges me, because I love a lot of different types of music. I would say, frankly, it really depends on the mood, right? I think one of the things that music is so powerful about is it reinforces your mood, or it pulls you to a mood that you want, right? And for me, I love to choose to be in like a peaceful state. Peaceful state is always really, really cool to be around. And so naturally I get drawn to a lot of lo-fi. Lo-fi has been a big thing for me. It's a bit more like kind of chill, kind of relaxed kind of music. One thing that I did grow up with, right, is I'm Chinese in terms of ethnicity.
Really?
Yes. So I actually grew up. I grew up in Australia. However, I I have a Chinese background, and a lot of the music that I grew up listening to was actually Chinese. Um, and the thing about Chinese music, and actually for Asian music in general, is there's a lot of focus on beautiful singing, like very smooth legato kind of tones, awesome vibratos, softer qualities, not quite as big and strong as maybe some of the things you might see in Western music. And I think that has been what I've been drawn towards. So if there is a bit of a genre, I love those softer, more intimate, and more ballady kind of pieces. That's always drawn me in.
So the staccato resonance of, say, like a heavy metal band and roaring isn't something that you listen to at all then, or it's just not your preferred?
I actually do listen to some rock. I actually definitely do. I'm yet to appreciate screamos, those more intense kind of sounds. But even I forget. I used to coach a singer who was very focused on hard rock, hard metal, those kind of things, and I loved it when he was singing, especially when I was doing them really, really well. I think for me, it's probably about 10% of my time versus the 90% at the moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense too, because I think, I grew up listening to classical music at the dinner table and throughout the day. It was beautiful, and I still love and really admire the range that classical, whether it be instrumental or opera or whatever that I'm listening to, brings. And as you were saying before, when our moods definitely affect the type of music that I think we all listen to. So when you're maybe if you're not in the best of spaces and you're wanting just to let rip, I don't know about you, but I listen to some more kind of music, and it's a wonderful way of expressing that.
Uh-huh.
Is there a little trick if I'm in that mood and I do want to get out and I'm driving along in my car? What tip would you suggest that I use to look after my voice for that 5 or 10 minutes of
I love that. I love that. And Sarah, how do you feel? Just curious, right? I always kind of coach through questioning. How do you feel after the 5 to 10 minutes? Do you feel busted? Do you feel like everything's fine?
elated most of the time? Getting it out just means that I'm not holding on to it anymore. So I physically feel lighter. My head feels lighter because I've attuned to whether it be the words and or the music, and it's just a factor.
Cool. So
Yeah,
you feel elated. I love that. And vocally, you feel fine as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Then there's no
But I know
dramas.
that not all people do.
Okay.
You're just set of lights and you pull up and mate Joe Bloggs is next to you and getting a raspy voice.
Yeah.
What could Joe do to help his raspiness?
Exactly. A great question, Sarah. And I think with the voice, it's such a personal thing. First of all, so I guess some of the things to really be thinking about is how does it feel on my voice first of all, and how does it sound? Because if both of them are good, we're probably in the clear. Now, obviously, time will tell. But for say Joe, right, who is maybe feeling a bit kind of roughed up here, first one is just like rest, right? If you're feeling roughed up, you have to rest, right? You've literally done something very athletic to your voice, probably not the best as well, and so you're going to feel it, right? There are consequences, and so just take a break, rest up, drink some water, get that kind of stuff. Take a shower, warm shower, get some steam there. That's a big one.
Okay.
In terms of actually maybe before you go and do that kind of thing, right? It could honestly come back to some of the things we talked about at the beginning, breath, right? Because part of the things that can really fatigue or rough up your voice is think about what's actually happening when we're making a sound. We're sending air up against our vocal folds, which are these little tiny tissues, little bit of ligaments in our throat, right? and they have to resist that to create sound. When we start blasting too much, it's like sending a hurricane against your vocal folds. And so we have to learn to manage that. And even if you're doing aggressive, loud singing, I would say it's always good to find that easy, balanced spot. Find that first, and then you can go play around with that. And your goal is, how can I make the aggressive, roughed up kind of singing feel more like this? But what I found here, if you can start translating that, maybe you won't rough up that much.
Guys, if you're watching this live or in replay, let us know if this resonates with you, because I'm sure Ivan's also more than welcome, more than happy to answer any questions that you do have. So if this resonates or you've got a question, please let us know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that breath and the water and getting back to that your bass, really important. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember the lead singer of AC/DC, because he's got a roughed up voice, probably a lot of time on tour. A good Australian band.
Absolutely.
My brother is going to be very disappointed in me that I can't think of his name. Angus Young? What's his name? Oh, I was so close then. But yeah, he has got that voice and what a performer too. So does our facial expressions and the way that we move, like if I'm moving like this, is this going to affect how I come across in my voice, Ivan?
It definitely does, Sarah. And I think, I mean, here's the best way that I kind of think about it, or that I think about it, maybe not the best way. Say when we are talking, right? When we're talking and I'm like, hey, Sarah, how are you going? Right? Or, hey, Sarah. Hey, Sarah. Yes. And so, like, I mean, like, as much as maybe we heard some vocal changes or whatnot, but all I was focusing on was my expression. And maybe I'll leave it to you, Neil or Sarah. Like, what did you hear as I was bouncing through these different expressions?
Interview's over. No.
That's too funny.
It's like, and yeah, you did a wonderful example of just by changing your facial expressions, and your voice appeared to have followed. Oh, hi, Sarah, and it's like, okay, interview's over now. No.
I love that. And you're absolutely spot on, Neil. There's really nothing magical here, right? Because your voice at the end of the day is a tool for communication. And what is communication all about? It's really about expressing my own thoughts, my own feelings, and having that relate to the other person.
Yeah.
And communication is this combination of skills, right? We've got what the voice does, our face, our body language, because we know communication isn't all words. In fact, most of it isn't even words, right? And so when we learn to apply a certain feeling and affect, that changes everything. It changes everything. And especially when I'm coaching a singer, especially if they're having certain issues with a voice strain or whatnot, sometimes it's just about getting them to think about the right emotion, and that clicks them in. Right? So back to Sarah's question, does it affect the way I do things? Oh, definitely. Same thing with your body language. Same thing with your body language as well. If you're going to sing like, fly me to the moon, it's just not going to work, right? Especially if your body's like that. I think you can get away if you're a really good singer, but, we want to set things up right.
Yeah. And that makes sense too. When you do go to see someone in concert, they are standing up straight generally. Those who are a little bit shy with the audience, like Sia, maybe not shy, but she's protecting her identity and turns around and puts something in front of her face. But her body language is upright. And if you do adopt that downtrodden, you come across all mumbly generally. Is it because you don't have that access to the amount of breath that you could use? Would that be fair to say?
Yeah. So there's definitely a technical aspect as well. So one of the things I talk about in my kind of coaching is mechanics and moments. right? So moments is about how do you live up to those moments where you have to sing in front of someone, or giving yourself those moments so you can train your voice, right? But then there's also the mechanics, which is the technique, the actual mechanisms behind your voice. And when you're doing this, you're right, Sarah, you're literally collapsing a lot of your lung capacity. And so it's like trying to sing with half your lungs. And then apart from that, apart from obviously the lungs, right? My neck is also in a funny position. And then I start introducing tension. And so there's all these different things that happen, right? And one of the reasons why AFA can be so important is it naturally fixes a lot of those things. So you don't have to think about the million and one pieces.
Absolutely.
Seems fair to say then that singing can be good for our health.
Yes. So good. I don't know. I remember someone telling me this. Singing is one of, especially if we're talking about mental health, which obviously ties into your physical health as well. Singing is one of the best tools to help pull you out of a negative state. And like depression, which is obviously like constant negative state, right? Of like being very, very sad. Singing can be a really great tool to pull you out of that. It's a really, really beautiful thing. And as I think Neil was saying at the beginning, there's a reason why sound was one of the first modalities of healing, because it does really cool things there. And so, yes, you guys are all spot
on. And yeah, and it crosses all languages, all barriers. Like a sad song, is a sad song across the cultures.
It's so true, so true. Just out of curiosity, so I guess because obviously part of your work is life coaching. Is music something that you guys use in your work? Like, is it something that you found success through?
I do, yeah.
Absolutely. We, in one of our workshops, we do a group chant, and as part of it is we're getting people physically connected. So we're either holding hands, holding arms, so we're physically connecting. And then as the workshop and that develops, we're getting people to, if they're comfortable with it, my head could be on your belly as we're all chanting, so that we're connecting, so that I'm now viscerally feeling the chant through your belly, and someone is feeling it through mine, and we're just all connected. It's a very powerful, it takes a lot of energy to build this sacred and trustful this trust container to be able to do this, because there's a lot of people have a lot of baggage about other people touching them. But yes, once it's created, the sacred container, it is phenomenal. And we're just using, and many times, an Om chant.
Wow, gosh, that's so powerful. And I love how you said keeping, like, putting your head on your head on someone else's belly, right? Because that is such a great way to feel it even more. The more senses we kind of intertwine, the better. Similar to, like, I guess for singing, I don't know if this is another bonus tip. The name of the game with singing is kinesthetic awareness, right? Being able to feel, because unfortunately, especially with singing, a lot of things are hidden and tucked away. You don't really know what's happening inside here. There are cues, right? And so a big one is, frankly, for example, say if you're suffering from tension, right? There are things we can do. Would it be helpful if I shared a few tips on how to get rid of some tensions?
Definitely.
Cool. Love it, love it, love it. Let's go to maybe the most common one, which is jaw tension, or common, at least from my singers, jaw tension. And so try this with me, Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got this. So this is to relax it if we need. The one thing that's really important is, let's test if we've even got jaw tension. And a big one is, say if you get your thumb and you pop it in between your top and bottom teeth. And say if you were to sing something, fly me to the moon. If I was to sing something, one of the things I am looking for is, am I biting onto the finger?
Okay.
Because if I'm biting onto it and especially if it's a constant kind of grip on my finger, it means my jaw's trying to clench.
Yeah.
All
right. I'm going to give it a question. Fly me to. No, I'm not. No, I'm not being. I can't do it. I'm disappointed at myself. I want to go louder, but I can't because I'm concentrating on not biting my thumb off.
Oh, good. So one thing at a time, right? And maybe this is something to play with. Just maybe when you're like obviously jamming in the car, maybe even just having fun with music, right? Double checking, am I biting down? Because if you are, then chances are when you're singing, right, you actually have that whilst you're singing, and that could be a reason why. Oh gosh, it just doesn't feel as easy as it should be. One of those hidden things. If that helps.
Yeah. Love that.
Love it.
Neil.
One of my first careers, I was just out of high school, and I was going to be the sound engineer of the world. I didn't quite do enough research because I didn't know that a sound engineer way back when I took it pretty much apprenticed for 10 years in the night shift. And I was madly in love with this girl, and I went, 10 years or keep the girl? Well, I kept the girl, and we're still together for 36 years now. But it was like, so I got to experience so many up and coming singers, and it was like, okay, you're on in, let's go. The band, the music's ready. We've got it all. And then they're going, and then they wander off to do their vocal warm-ups. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I learned that, yeah, if you don't warm up, we're only going to get 1 or 2 takes, and then all hell's going to go break loose because their voices for crap.
That is way too funny, Neil. Yes. Warm-ups are incredibly important. Warm-ups are very, very, very important.
Yeah. So is that, we have me, we la 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 la. Is that the sort of warm up you're talking about? Or are you talking about scales? Like, what sort of warm up would you recommend to everyday Joe?
To everyday Joe, what a great question. So I think to kind of start here, we have to understand the purpose of the warm up, because I think the number one mistake that a lot of people getting started with singing, or even intermediate singers, do is they do the warm up for the sake of the warm up without really understanding the purpose behind it, right? And this is how I kind of explain to my clients. All warm ups are about reestablishing habits that are going to make your voice feel good and sound good when you sing. And now that we know that bit of information, that bit of purpose, the scales, the exercises become less relevant, because what it becomes is about you experimenting with different exercises and figuring out what feels good for you. For example, that could be a great exercise to warm up, right? Maybe you can add it. You can add it to exercises and scales like that. However, the thing you want to be asking yourself is, how does it make me feel? And how does it actually make me sound? Because if it makes you sound good, feel good, then keep it. Keep it as part of your warm-up, do it as part of your routine. But if it doesn't, cut it off, right? And so especially when you're playing around, you want to be choosing those ones that serve you. However, that's a boring answer. I know that's a boring answer. For the average Joe, one thing you want to probably be playing around with is a lot of things that manage your breath again. Breath is going to be so important. And I love the question you asked at the beginning, Sarah. To even take a step back, because I've only showed you the one thing that's going to be really helpful for most people, the general population, is you want to play around with something called a semi-occlusion. Now, when I say semi-occlusion, Neil, Sarah, are you like, what is this guy talking about? Or is it like, awesome. So all it is semi-occlusions is exercises or sounds that help you manage your air by closing some part of your sound making process. Usually it's your lips or it could even be your nose, right? And what it does is it's to stop us from blasting too much air, because air, remember, has to come up, it has to meet the vocal folds, and then it has to come out, right? For a lot of beginner singers, the vocal folds aren't strong enough yet. And so often we need this extra bit of resistance, extra bit of help to make the voice do the right thing. And the is a great example of this, because all we've done is now introducing the teeth and the lips. And that's that extra bit of resistance. Another example is a lip bubble. If you guys are interested to try it out, like by all means, you just get your thumb, your middle finger, lift up your cheeks about an inch, and you just blow bubbles.
You can't do it when I'm laughing.
I'm going to cut this and repurpose this, Neil. I've got you on camera now.
That's okay.
I love it.
Remind me of blowing bubbles in the water. Like, although in the water, I don't hold my jaw.
Some people don't need to. If you feel like there's no need. I personally need to have the thumb and finger because maybe I've got like big cheeks, fat cheeks. But who knows? Go for it.
It's an interesting that you commented, because there are coaches and there are people out in the world that they would bring on a guest and then they would choose not to be vulnerable because of what outside there could think of their persona. And I'm going, if I'm bringing on a guest, and I think Sarah's in the same thing, we need to be willing to embrace what our participants are being taught. And so if we need to be silly, we're going to be silly. If it's time to cry, we're going to cry. We are going to play full on, and it works for our own evolution as well.
Gosh, thank you for sharing that, Neil. I appreciate you. And Neil and Sarah, gosh, I love how you're playing full out in these. Obviously, like, you guys are amazing interviewers, but when you play full out and you grow and you're not afraid to look silly, I mean, as much as this is an interview, this is just a way of life, right? If you're not afraid to look silly, you're going to do some cool stuff.
Yeah. The possibilities. Yeah.
Yes. And apologies, like massive tangent. So lip bubbles, the v are a semi-occlusion, and they're going to be a great way to warm up your voice. Even if it's just singing through your favorite songs, like maybe going, maybe play singing through the melody, through those sounds. That's going to be a great way to get started.
Let's go a different tangent. Why do people think that, I'm tone deaf? A lot of people believe they're tone deaf, but they can carry a tune. Is that an internal misrepresentation? Is it more likely someone's told them, "Oh, I can't listen to you anymore"? Well, what's going on with people who feel like they are tone deaf, or like my mum, happy birthday?
Yeah. So I think there could be a lot of reasonings behind this. I would say, though, it's very tied to what we spoke about just now, which is the fear of looking silly. And that fear of looking silly, right, could have come from, as you said, maybe earlier in your childhood, someone told you, "Hey, you suck at singing," or like, "Gosh, you don't have a voice." Because here's a reality. I think they've done a scientific test on this. If we're talking about truly tone deaf, apparently it's only about 4% of the population, if not less. And what this means, right, is if you're interested in music, if you love listening to music, you cannot be tone deaf. Because a truly tone deaf person will listen to music which has various pitches. It goes in and out of various pitches. They would hear it all as the same thing, and they would just get bored of it. So what would draw them to music? Nothing, right? So they most likely are people who aren't naturally drawn to music anyway. So if you love to sing, if you love to get better at making music, you can't hide behind the excuse of being tone deaf, because it frankly isn't true. Now, that's not to say that you're going to magically hit all the notes like that. It takes control, right? It takes control. And that's where the building process happens. But I think the bubble of labeling yourself as tone deaf, like, "Oh, I can't sing on pitch," that's a bit of a protection mechanism. And I think it's important that we understand it. It's just to keep us safe, to make sure that we aren't going to do anything that makes us look silly. So then maybe our friends don't like us anymore. I think that's going to be really important to understand.
It's reminding me then maybe the 2 or 3 beers deep, and then suddenly someone says, "Hey, you want to go to karaoke?" and that person who is tone deaf can suddenly rip raw because they've got that social lubrication, I suppose, of the alcohol, and they're actually can hold a tune. So it's that fear of judgment then from a lot of people that stops you from having fun in the moment, but also enjoying that music.
It's a big thing.
For me as a person, I know I have a squeaky voice, and that's okay. But for me, I know that it's the hearing that is for me. It's the hearing, because I was a disc jockey and I listened to rock music way too loud. So now it's learning for me to learn the differences of where my voice goes. So that's to me the perfect segue and the perfect reason for me to go and hire a coach and torment them as I learn to know the difference between, because if I can't hear it and it's important and I want to do it, I need someone to say that, Neil, you're pitchy here, or Neil, you're doing whatever. So those are the perfect reasons, if you think you're having here, to get a coach, to get out of your own way, get over yourself, and go see someone that can hear and can help you. And I've been told that sometimes it's breathing or just finding where I'm not pitchy and to work from there.
Absolutely, Neil. Absolutely.
So it's a little early. We still got quite a bit of time left. But what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you? So you've talked to them and they're doing the and they're doing the and they think, okay, there's got to be, I need now to put words to this. So how do I work with this crazy Ivan guy? What's the best way to get a hold of Ivan?
I love it. Yeah, I just need a moment. So to get in touch with this crazy guy called Ivan, honestly, I think the best way is to send me a message on Instagram. So I think Neil yes, thank you for that. Instagram at Sing with Ivan. That's going to be the easiest place to reach me. That's where I'm most active. Another one is you can obviously email me. So would it be helpful if I shared it in the chat?
Sure. And while we can do that. And then, do you have? So I'm interested. Do you have an introductory package that you offer, or do you have a 20-minute discovery? Hey, let's see what we can do together. Because not every coach is the right fit with everyone. So what's the best way that for Jill or Joe Average to be introduced to your work?
Love it, love it, love it. Thank you for that. And first of all, Jill or Joe Average, you're not average. It's Jill Superior, Jill Amazing.
I love it.
Well, what I do is I actually this is a great plug. So every month I actually do a risk-free training. So essentially, what this means is you get the chance to work with me for 5 days risk-free, and this is my Find Your Voice training, and I've actually got one starting next week, or if you guys are in the States, it's on your Sunday, right? And there are a couple more spots left, and all this training is about helping you get started, right? Risk-free. Now, I do charge a $50 deposit, but this is fully refundable. And the only reason why I do this is I want to make sure you do the work, because the last thing I want is you come onto the training, you learn all these cool ideas, and then you don't do the homework, right? And then you're like, Ivan, you suck, I suck. And then the whole world becomes a sham. The alternate is possible, which is you obviously you put in the money, you get incentivized to do the work, you show up, you do the work, you learn about how do we build confidence as a singer? How do we start building moments, right? Because I talk about moments a lot in my coaching. And then how do we start building technique? Mechanics is always very, very important for us as singing. And then obviously, because you're doing the work, you're going to see results. And so if there's anyone who's just on the fence of like, gosh, I want to get my voice started, but I just want to try. I don't know if Ivan's the right person. I think this 5-day Find Your Voice training is going to be the best place to start. Because there's a lot of things I've done here to get you started versus just, let's just try things. There's a lot of things I've done.
Wonderful. I trust that like me, other people are going to sign up. I'm definitely curious after speaking to you today. So if you want to spend more time, not only with Ivan, but with me, reach out to Ivan via Instagram and do some voice training with us next week. So I'm loving this. I think we could, when you're passionate about something, you can talk for hours and hours. And I feel like this last 55 minutes has gone by in like 15. Just like that.
Right.
Have you got any final words that you would like to share with our audience?
Yes. Final words is don't let anything hold you back. Especially in, because I know for a lot of us and a lot of the people I've worked with, the big thing that seems to hold us back is we all love music. We love singing. We love the ability for it to connect us with other people. But somewhere along your life, somewhere along maybe your childhood, someone's told you that you can't do it. Or maybe someone has told you that you don't have a voice. Gosh, Jill, you don't have anything, right? You don't have a voice at all. You just don't have that. And we take it as the absolute truth. Suddenly their opinion becomes our reality. And if that is you, first of all, I'd love for you to join me next week in the 5-day. But I think most importantly, it's nothing more than an opinion. Right? There's nothing that really says that that's truth. Right? And when you start surrounding yourself with the right people who aren't bringing you down, people who aren't going, you can't do this, you start to realize how above average you are, how not average you are. And even if you're average, right, it's really about the ability to grow. And I think when you have that, you become unstoppable.
Thank you. And I'd like to lead with, it doesn't matter who you are, anyone can sing. Anyone can sing. And if you're remotely interested, check Ivan out and do your heart a favor and sing loud and sing proud.
Oh,
beautiful.
Yes, I love that. I think chests all over the world just launched out with pride then hearing that, Neil. That was wonderful. I'm one of the musicians that really touched me about 15, 20 years ago was Michael Franti. And one of his famous songs, Everyone Deserves Music, really resonates with me. It's not only the song itself, but the meaning behind it. Everyone does deserve music. So whether, like Neil said, you're a great singer, or whether you just really enjoy listening to other people, go out there, enjoy music, design the life you desire, create uplifting conversations, and share beautiful music with your loved ones, with your friends, with a stranger. Till we speak next time, from Australia, from Canada, from planet Earth, we wish you all the best. Take care.